We begin today in New York City, where the General Assembly of the United Nations is meeting right now. We were just looking live there at President Trump as he was speaking with the UN Secretary General. The Assembly is working to tackle several world issues, including immigration, trade, and the ongoing wars in both Ukraine and Gaza. Speaking before the body early this morning, President Trump touted a new age of America before questioning the UN's purpose and criticizing members for rewarding Hamas by recognizing a Palestinian state.
Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities.
The president also criticized several world initiatives like lowering the global carbon footprint and alleged the body was funding what he called uncontrolled migration to the West. We do have team coverage of the president's visit to the UN. NewsNation's Laura Engel is outside of the assembly, while Joe Khalil is live for us at the White House with the very latest on Trump's speech. And then Robert Sherman live overseas with the impact of the president's words abroad. Joe, we will start with you there in D.C. Joe, a bit of a harsher tone from President Trump toward the UN.
Yeah, he spoke for almost an hour. He addressed a lot there. He talked about the international crises that the global community is facing. He also talked a lot about domestic issues, actually, and touted some of what he views as successes of his administration within the United States. He was really critical of President Biden, and it was a running theme. He kept continuing to come back to criticizing the administration for essentially not being the strong force that the United States should have been in the global community. So that was something that was sort of interesting and caught our eye. He was really critical of the UN as a whole, as a body. And he, at one point, even questioned why the UN exists, what its purpose is. He also criticized them for not being effective and being rather impotent when it comes to trying to bring peace to volatile and conflict regions out in the world. He also criticized them for their climate agenda and for being complicit on mass migration, not just to the United States, but to Europe as well. Take a listen to a little bit of what he said here about the UN.
Dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential.
Now, he also, in some length, talked about Gaza and the situation there. He said the world needs to bring a ceasefire, that he, the United States, and allies are continuing to work toward that, but not without the hostages being released. That was a priority that he said. He also criticized some of the United States allies who have called for a Palestinian state and have recognized one, saying that that is essentially a gift to Hamas. And when we talked about Russia at that point of his address, he was also pretty critical of some of the European countries that were in that room, the NATO countries that are in that room, saying essentially that the United States is ready to move forward with sanctions on countries that buy gas and oil from Russia. But he says until we see our allies, our European allies, doing the same and cutting off their own supply of Russian oil and gas, it's not going to happen. He says the body needs to move forward together on that. And this is how he laid that out.
China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves.
Now, again, he said that he is ready to greenlight those sanctions, but he needs the European allies, the NATO countries, to be alongside the United States in doing that. We imagine that certainly is going to come up as he meets with some of those very European leaders later on this evening.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.